Welcome to the night sky for March 2026. In this presentation, we're going to look at the moon phases, we're going to learn about occultations, and look at a specific occultation that's coming up this month, and then we will look at the usual planets and night sky stellarium tour. Let's get started. First of all, the moon phases, so we're full on the 3rd of March, and then last quarter is on the 11th of March, where the moon will be rising just before midnight. Then new moon on the 19th of March, rising and setting with the sun. And of course, watch for Earth shine in the few days following the new moon, while it's a toenail moon low in the western sky after sunset, as we mentioned last month. And then we're back to first quarter on the 26th of March, rising in the late afternoon. Now, occultations. What is an occultation? Essentially, it's when two objects occupy the same position in the sky. In other words, one disappears behind the other. The nearer object is the larger one, usually the moon, and the moon occults or gets in the way of a planet or a bright star. Now, because of their relative positions, commonly occulted objects behind the moon include Saturn, the stars Spica and Antares. Less often, a much closer star gets occulted by the moon as well, but we usually call that an eclipse. Like eclipses, occultations have a ground track that they're visible from. So there's some details of that in the description. There's a link in the description below. And we've got a screenshot here of some occultations that are coming up over the next few weeks or so. One in particular, the Antares occultation of the 10th of March. So around 11 p.m. on Tuesday the 10th of March, the moon will rise in the southeast, and it's last quarter, near enough, so it'll be a half moon. Now the bright side of the moon will have a star very close to it, Antares. Now Antares is a fairly bright red giant star, so you should be able to see it, even though it's close to the moon. And soon enough, that star will disappear behind the moon, shooting straight through the middle of it, and if you wait until around 20 minutes after midnight, as the moon rises higher, you'll see Antares pop out from behind the dark half of the moon, as you can see in this screen capture here. Now, what makes this occultation special? Well, if we look at the ground track of it, we are the only country in the world that will see this occultation. So if you do manage to see it, then enjoy it. Moving on to the planets, we have Jupiter still positioned as the best planet for us to observe, where it's rising in the early evening, and that'll be coming back to the late afternoon towards the end of the month. Right now, it's still bright and high in the northern sky in the evening, still making that bright cluster we pointed out last month with Aldebaran, Betelgeuse, Procyon, Sirius, and Rigel. So if you didn't get a chance to see it already, then do, and you can look at it through binoculars and see Jupiter with its 4 Galilean moons there as well. Saturn is visible in the beginning of the month. It'll be very low in the western sky just after sunset, quite close to the sun, and in fact it's moving closer to the sun through the month. So if you want to see Saturn at all, beginning of the month is the time to look for it. And in fact, if you look to the western horizon very low, shortly after sunset, you might see Saturn and Venus very close together. The other planets that we normally see, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, they're very close to the Sun, so not ideal observing conditions, although towards the end of the month, in the early morning, you may see Mercury rising just before the Sun. Right, let's take a look at our night sky stellarium tour. Let's start by looking at that Antares occultation. We're looking to the southeast at the moment, and it is a 10:50 p.m. on the 10th of March. So let's advance our clock slightly, and we can see the moon just rising, and we can see Antares right there next to it, and it's still very, very low to the horizon, but at around 11:30 p.m. Antares is going to disappear completely behind the moon. So let's now jump forward in time, and you can see the clock there racing ahead, and soon enough at 0:20, 20 minutes past midnight, there's Antares appearing from the other side of the moon. So definitely have a look for that. if you get a chance, if you've got a clear view to the southeast, and if the sky is clear. Okay, now here we are looking to the north, and it is 10 p.m. on the same night, the 10th, and we can see that there's that cluster that I talked about before with Betelgeuse and Jupiter and Pollux and Castor and so forth. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look for a star cluster. So the star cluster we're going to be looking for is in Cancer, the crab, and we're going to find this by star hopping. So we can see Betelgeuse there, which is part of Orion, bright red star, you can't miss it. It's going to make a line with Jupiter, it's going to make another line with Pollux here, and then you can see a slightly dimmer and bluer star next to Pollux, which is Castor. Make a line up through Castor and Pollux, and then make a right turn. We're going to end up in this kind of area here. Now, let's zoom into that and see what we can find. This is a star cluster which is in the middle of Cancer, the crab. Now if we just select that and do a binocular view, this is what it's going to look like in binoculars. It's a magnitude 3, so it's going to be fairly dim, but binoculars should resolve it nicely, particularly on a night where you're not getting washed out by moonlight. There's over 1,000 stars in this cluster. So if you have a chance to find that, then if you're in the idea of looking for star clusters, let's swing around now to the southeast and our most famous constellation of all, which is of course the Southern Cross. Let's see the pointer stars and star hop up to the Southern Cross, but stop just before we get there. So in this area down here, if we come into that and get closer, we can see that there is this little cluster of stars here, where some of the stars are kind of bluish and some of the stars are reddish, so this is what's called the jewel box cluster. And if you look at it in binoculars, it's going to be fairly small, but you will see it in binoculars. So that's definitely worth looking for. It's better in a telescope, so if you're heading to one of our dark sky events, definitely ask to see the jewel box cluster. It's a beautiful thing to look for. In that same area, in that same neighbourhood, if we continue on through the Southern Cross and carry on heading up towards the Carina Nebula, which is up here, we have another cluster up here, which is the Wishing Well cluster. So let's centre that and have a look at what it would look like through binoculars. This one, beautiful part of the sky. You've got bits of the nebulosity of the Carina Nebula that you'll be able to see. You've got the Statue of Liberty Nebula sitting there as well, and you've got the Wishing Well cluster right in the middle of the view there, and you'll definitely see that in your binoculars. So take a look at that. While we're in the southern hemisphere sky and we're talking about star clusters, let's also spin around a little bit further. Here's the South Celestial Pole, and here's the Large Magellanic Cloud we talked about last month and the Tarantula Nebula in it. Underneath that we have the Small Magellanic Cloud. So let's come into that, and underneath the Small Magellanic Cloud we have this star cluster down here, 47 Tucanae. It's quite bright, you'll see it in binoculars, but it will be quite small. But you'll see it with the Small Magellanic Cloud directly above it. So take a look for that. See how many of the star clusters you can see from this month's night sky. See if you can catch all of them. And now let's take a look at more generally what the constellations are that we're going to be able to see this month. Turn the constellations on and zoom out a little bit. So we've got Orion there, west of north now, so that's going, we're past peak Orion season. Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo coming up to opposition. And the main star in Virgo is Spica. That's a very bright star. You'll see it easily. It's a first magnitude star. And the interesting thing about Spica is that it has a habit of twinkling in all sorts of different colours, and that's just because of the spectrum of light that it produces, kind of having this scintillating effect as it comes through the atmosphere. And then further on we have Libra and Scorpius rising as well if you stay up a little bit later. Of course, those are more autumn and winter constellations, so as time passes you'll see them more clearly as we head towards winter. So that's it for tonight's night sky. Let's finish, as always, with one of our Cretny Observatory photos. This is the Centaurus A galaxy, which is around 12 million light years away. Okay, good luck, happy viewing, clear skies, thanks for watching, and see you next month.